Good evening, everybody. Welcome to lesson 11.2. We're going to talk about degrees this evening. Our essential question, which I'd like for you to write at the top of your handout, is how are degrees related to fractional parts of a circle? Again, go ahead and write that essential question at the very top of your handout you received today in class. Before we get started, I want you to look at your handout. The very first question, it says, what are angles measured in? I would like for you to also take a look at the very top of the slide. It says an important math vocabulary term. Angles are measured in units called degrees. Think of a circle divided into 360 equal parts. An angle that turns through 1/360th of the circle measures at just 1 degree. If you take a look to the right of the screen, you'll notice this circle, and inside the circle, it's divided up by fractions as well as degrees. That's going to be your best friend tonight, so I want you to go ahead and give it a big star. You're going to use that throughout our lesson this evening on your handout, as well as whenever you start your independent homework. So go ahead and make sure you have that handy. It's at the top of your notes, as well as will be here on my screen as well. All right, let's take a look at our next slide, and it's a review slide. Now, we have gone over this in class, and we've learned this before, but I want to make sure that you remember. A right angle measures 90 degrees. An acute angle measures less than 90 degrees. An obtuse angle will measure greater than 90, but less than 180. And a straight angle will just measure 180 degrees. Now, on number 2 on your handout, you do have a little spot for you to write down the degree of each angle. So why don't you go ahead and pause the video and go ahead and write down the degree of each angle. Our next slide is not in your notes, boys and girls, so just make sure you're watching the screen as I demonstrate a few things for you. This says write 1/2 as an equivalent fraction with 360 in the denominator's place. So over here, I've gone ahead and written our equivalent fraction. 1/2 is equal to something 360ths. So we have to determine what goes in our blank here. Now, I do want to remind you of something really quickly. Anytime you're dealing with a circle, you're always going to be working with 360 degrees. And if you take the time and go ahead and count up each 30-degree section, you will get a total of 360 degrees. And as a reminder, this is our very important circle that you guys starred on your handout. We're going to take a look at it, and it's going to help us with this question. The circle down here, once again, is 360 degrees. Well, I notice that it's cut in half. So if you take a look up top, we can go ahead and cut this very important circle in half as well. And when I cut it in half, what I can do is I can go ahead and line up and count my degrees. So if I count 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, 180. So I can tell that half of a circle is 180 degrees. So I know by looking at this circle that half of 360, which is my full circle, is 180 degrees. So I can go ahead and fill in our missing numerator. There's also another way to solve this equation instead of counting your degrees. I know from past lessons that I can find this missing blank if I think, okay, what can I do to 2? I can multiply it by something to get 360 degrees. I know that 2 times 18 gives me the 36. And all I need to do is add a 0 in order to get my 360 like I wanted. So I know, boys and girls, whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. That's right. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply 180 to the top. And I know 1 times 180 will give me 180. So that's another way that you can fill in your missing numerator. All right, now go ahead and take a look at your notes. This particular slide is in your notes. You should see a circle that says 1/3 and a circle that says 1/12. And once again, we've got our very important diagram at the very top that's going to help us with this question. Our directions are to the right, they're handwritten in, and they say tell the measure of the angle in degrees. So we need to figure out if 1/3 of this circle is filled in, we want to know the measure of the angle here in degrees. We also have one to the right. This is 1/12. Let's go ahead and take a look at these. The first one we're going to take a look at this evening is on the right-hand side, and it says 1/12. They want to know the measure of the angle in degrees. And this one's quite easy because our circle is already broken up into 12ths. So I know that 1/12 of this circle is worth 30 degrees. So I know that 1/12 equals 30 degrees. Now as we take a look at our other problem, 1/3, that's a little bit harder because our circle is not broken up into thirds, but could it be? I want you to think for just a moment, and I want you to try to break up your circle with a pencil into thirds. Think, 12, if this is broken up into 12ths right now, then you can actually break it up into thirds. Go ahead and try that on your own for me. All right, I went ahead and broke up my circle into thirds. Go ahead and check your work. You should have 4 pieces. I see 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So each section should now have 4 spots in it. And we're going to take a look at what our question's asking us. Our question's asking us, what is the measure of the angle in degrees of 1/3 of the circle? So, since we have our circle now in thirds, we can go ahead and think, okay, if I have 1/3, that's only one section of this area colored. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight kind of what we're going to work with. So we're only going to work with the 1/3 because this is 1 out of the 1, 2, 3 sections. So once I block off my section, my part of the circle, I'm going to go ahead and add it up. 30, 60, 90, 120 degrees. So I know that my 1/3 fraction is actually a measure of 120 degrees. And now I'd like for you to go ahead and pause the video and practice on your handout. These directions say classify the angle, write acute, obtuse, right, or straight. Now remember, at the very beginning of the video, we wrote down all of the degrees for all of these angles. So go ahead and make sure you reference that and fill it in. Go ahead and push pause whenever you're ready to start. Push play whenever you're ready to check your answers. I know you're going to do amazing. All right, let's go ahead and check your answers. The first one, I got obtuse, because remember, an obtuse angle falls between 90 degrees, so it's greater than 90, but less than 180. For the second one, I got straight, because remember, a straight angle is 180 degrees. It's a straight line. The last one, remember that box. That box tells me that's 90 degrees, so therefore it's a right angle. Awesome job, guys. Thanks for following along with me. Let's go ahead and move on to our next set of problems. And we're moving right along into classifying triangles. I did make a little bit of a typo, but I fixed it. So we are classifying the triangles. We're going to write acute, obtuse, or right. Now we have practiced this a little bit in class. The only thing that may be a little bit different is the degrees are actually in the angles of the triangle. So that may be just a little bit different for some of you. Now anytime you have an angle, it should equal 180 degrees when you add up all of the angles inside of the triangle. So if I add 120, 20, and 40 degrees all up, I would get 4 plus 2 is 8, and 1, bring down your 1, is 180 degrees. Let's go ahead and try the middle one. 70 plus 70 plus 40. I know that 7 plus 7 is 14, plus another 4 is 18. So yes, that equals up to 180. And the last one, 45 degrees plus 45 degrees. Now I know that's 90 degrees. And although it did not give me the measure for this angle, I know that it's 90 degrees because it has that box. So I know that 90 plus 90 will give me 180 degrees. Now, that's not what I'm asking you to do, but I just wanted to go ahead and show you that. What I'd like for you to do now is classify the triangles. You're going to write acute, obtuse, or right. Now, we've done this before in class, like I've said, so just go ahead and try your best, but I know you can do it very well on your own. Go ahead and do that. Pause me whenever you get ready to start. Push play whenever you're ready to check your answers. All right, mathematicians, go ahead and check your answers. The first triangle I came to, I got obtuse triangle, since there is one obtuse angle, the angle that's measuring 120 degrees. The second one I got acute. Acute because all three of these particular angles are acute angles. They're less than 90 degrees. And the last one, because I know that there's a right angle here, I know that it is a right triangle. All right, boys and girls, it is time for your homework. And I'm going to go ahead and explain them to you just a little bit because they are a little bit tougher. The first one, it says Ava started reading at 3:30 p.m. She stopped for a snack at 4:15 p.m. During this time, through what fraction of a circle did the minute hand turn? How many degrees did the minute hand turn? Now remember, our minute hand is our bigger hand on the clocks, and they've given you a pretty good diagram to the right of that. Now, if you do need help, I would suggest using our circle with all the degrees lined up. Go ahead and make sure you're using that because it will help you. So that's the first question. Second question is down here to our left. It says, how many degrees are in an angle that turns through 2/4 of a circle? So remember, you have your circle, and you're going to go ahead and split it up into fourths and count the degrees. Now remember, you can use our rule of thumb. You can use that a circle around is 360, a straight line is 180, and remember, we have 90-degree angles in between. And remember, the circle that we used earlier was actually split up into 30 degrees. So whichever one helps you with the question would be more beneficial for you. Go ahead and use whichever one. And our last problem, we're at number 3 here on the right-hand side. Make sure you do all 3 problems. Now this is a hot question, and it says, is this angle measure obtuse? Explain. Okay, so I'm going to let you go ahead and do that one. And whenever you're done, I want you to go ahead and assess yourself. And let's go ahead and assess ourselves about tonight's lesson. Put a number 1 at the bottom of your page if you feel like you're a novice, you're just starting to learn and you really don't understand. A 2, apprentice, starting to get it, but you still need some coaching. Level 3, practitioner, I can do it all by myself, but I may get stuck sometimes. And a level 4 is an expert, that means you could teach it to somebody. Go ahead and put a 1, 2, 3, or 4 on your homework page for tonight. Don't forget to bring it to class so we can check it together, and so we have that reference sheet for tomorrow's lesson. Hope everybody has a great evening. See you guys tomorrow. Bye.